a counter legend. If this jury buys the prosecution's legend, this is called finding of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. If you're each trying to make your own story come across, that's just what it is. It's a story.
No, okay, see, I get that. I understand that when you go to trial, you leave out certain facts to make your story sound legitimate, and it happens with both sides.
You never get the whole truth.
And I understand that. But I don't know, I just can't get past...
But you're lacking truth and you're sentencing a man to death.
You're going with the notion...
But okay, don't you think... Just hear me out. Don't you think if you have one side of the story trying to say, oh, he committed murder, and the other guy saying, oh, he didn't commit murder, by both those stories overall, do you think you'd end up getting the whole picture because they're both trying to counterpoint certain things?
You can't. I don't think that in the judicial system you can.
But doesn't that kind of, it makes sense, like to me in my head, you would think that you'd be able to get both sides of the story.
But because you can't get the whole and complete truth, you can't know everything that went on.
Because
I don't think it's fair to sentence
the judicial
anybody.
system is just filled with people trying to manipulate each other and convince each other that no, it's this way or no, it's this way.
But do you think it's okay to send someone to life in prison? They're pretty much essentially dying in prison. Yeah. Prison's hell. Like I saw Locked Up Raw. I watched it constantly.
You don't know by experience, but
yeah, I don't know by experience, but I've seen it every single Friday, Saturday night.
Okay.
But no, but like, isn't that pretty much sentencing them to death? Spending life locked up in a cell 23 hours a day, 1 hour outside.
Okay,
of that.
but by giving this person death, you're actually giving them. They don't have to deal with the issues anymore. You know what I mean? Like if they're in prison, they have to deal with all of that.
Yeah, but they're taking up so much of our money and so much of our time.
I understand where you come from with that. Yeah.
No, I actually agree with Kat because because I
resources.
Say for example, if a person commits murder and there's no doubt that this guy.
What if they confessed? Is that legit? Like you mean like say they confessed?
No. Because sometimes like
you can confess to something you didn't do for the love of another person or for certain reasons.
Really?
Yeah.
People do that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, all the time. Yes. Well, not all the time, but yeah.
Think of a mother's love for a child. Would you rather not have your child sentenced to death? Would you rather be the one sentenced to death if your child committed the crime?
But the only, I guess how I see putting them in jail for life is that it gives them the option for parole. But yeah. Or
sometimes they
to parole. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either because I mean, if they did the court right the first time, then that shouldn't even be an issue. Well, I mean,
that's what
that's
what he argues.
They talk about it
in the risk for wrongful execution. Yeah. I don't know who wrote this, so I can't
I don't know, but they talk about how so many people get parole. And they're letting someone go that
the abolitionists should focus their attention on fixing that part.
Rather than putting them to death. I hate him.
So are you saying that all felons should not be eligible for parole?
I think it depends.
You mean
on the
with murder cases?
I think it depends on the crime.
Okay.
Things like
it really depends on the crime. Someone that robbed a bank or someone that
What about somebody that's running around with 5 pounds of marijuana in their car?
No, I don't even know if you should even go to jail. That's a waste of your money.
That really is like.
So,
okay, but besides the point.
So basically, my point is like prison reform is what the issue.
It's basically you want the reform of the institution of a prison is like.
Yeah, but I still think some people should be put to death.
I just feel.
I mean, like you said, it depends on the crime.
Yeah, it totally depends on the crime. And it totally depends on the evidence. And I know y'all are going to say, well, evidence is subjective, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. There's some things that you can't get around, like someone's bloody fingerprint being there.
I think my largest issue with the death penalty is that you're putting the power of life and death
into a group of people's hands.
Into a group of people's hands, into an institution's hands.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way about it. I don't think...
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up to like a government institution to say who should live and who should die. And I mean, yeah, some people
But isn't it... Okay, I could be wrong, but isn't it... Who decides whether the death penalty is it the judge or is it the jury?
The jury decides the guilt. The judge decides
the punishment. Okay, because I was saying if it was the jury, then your argument would be flawed because it'd be people deciding.
No, it's the judge who decides the penalty.
Okay. Well, then therefore it is an institution.
Yeah, and that's I feel like no one person should determine whether or not you deserve to live. It's like in the hospitals, like you know how people are on life support and one person has to decide whether or not they should keep going with that.
Well, I say kill. If you're not gonna have a life, you might as well die. And that's kind of how I feel.
Oh my god.
Well, no, if you were gonna live a life being miserable, would you rather? I mean, I don't want to live on life support. I'd rather be dead. And that's in a
Well,
way
that's probably why
that
you say
analogy kind of files in to the death penalty.
But
If you're gonna sit there and waste your life in jail, take money, not do any good, what's the point in
But
living?
they're not choosing. I mean, I guess maybe in a sense they did choose to be there. But if they were wrongly accused, they weren't choosing to sit there and waste our resources. They were forced into that situation.
Because of that.
And then you're talking about like wasting resources. Why are these resources being put to waste? Prisoners don't have to sit there all day. I mean, punishment
They
could
make
be...
license plates. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, more than just license plate, they could do so much more constructive things. So many more constructive
Yeah,
things as
but-
opposed to just sitting around and rotting
But
away.
they don't.
So it's an institutional issue.
Exactly.
Same with the issue of putting life and death into the hands of the institution.
Okay. But I get institutional reform is big, but I still think some people should be put to death.
See, and I think that's the thing. There's a lot of people in this country who have that perspective of things because they deserved it, but you're not getting the whole picture of this person.
See, yeah, and then on top of that, like, you also have to consider you're emotionally involving yourself in these situations.
There's no way
There
you can be
shouldn't-
not irrational, but like a rational, just
Yeah, it's hard
one-sided,
to get that.
unbiased person.
Right, and I think because emotions are so involved, like, the process shouldn't be an emotional one, it should be completely logical. And if life and death is in the balance of it, and it's not completely logical, like, I don't think it's...
I think
it's
what
fair.
makes it difficult to actually come to an agreement with it is that both sides, like those who are for the death penalty and those who are against, think it's like morally superior. Their answer is morally superior. So they just have so much behind it that it's hard to break one free from the other. You can't work together that way if you feel like you're morally superior than,
I don't know. I just can't get over people being killed and murdered, and I just feel like I don't know why. You take someone's life? Why do you deserve to live?
But that's
What about
not
the
problem.
executioners? Do they deserve to live? They're taking people's lives.
There's a part in there where it says it's their job. Like
Okay.
there's no personal tie to it. It's their job. That's what they're told to do.
Okay.
And I'm sure they suffer like mental shit from it. They're probably like, oh my god, I just killed someone. But I mean, it's their job.
Consider this.
Military, it's their job to go kill their enemy. It's their job.
But do you know how emotionally scarred they become from?
No, because I'm not in the military.
So I think you should maybe take a perspective of a person
So do you
who
want
has
me to
to.
go be an SU?
No, I mean
You should just consider it.
You should consider what they have to deal with and how it affects them. Okay, to me, is the death penalty really for?
The good of the people?
Is it for the good of the people, or is it for like something else? Like to me, like they
Okay.
say it's cruel. It's not cruel and unusual, right? But is it not cruel and unusual because you don't want to hurt the person, or is it not cruel and unusual because you don't want to reveal the realities of killing another person to the people who are watching this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that the fact that it's not cruel and unusual? Is it because we don't want to hurt that person, or is it because we don't want to see what death really is? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel about it.
See, to me, the death penalty serves as something completely different, and it's just upholding the laws and the rules that our country should be run on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that for me, that's all it is. I mean, if a person gets away with murder and we don't
Do anything
we don't
about
do
it.
something about it, then what are we going to turn into? We're going to turn into animals and start killing
Yes.
each other.
But he's going to
You-
argue whether the death penalty is like the necessary measure.
I am going to, because then you also have to consider, like, if an American citizen commits a crime, is he no longer an American citizen endowed with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Most importantly, with this situation, life.
Yes.
So he's not entitled to life when he commits a crime that is worthy of the death
But
penalty.
depends on the crime.
Taking someone else's life, you're not worthy of life.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you talking about the circumstances of any murder? Or
Or
specific
case by case.
or case-by-case murders?
Case by case, because say you're coming in, you're trying to harm me, and the only way I can get Ozzy off of me is
To
to
kill
kill him. Yeah.
Okay.
Or to
That's different. You know what I mean? Because like, if there was evidence that he was physically trying to hurt me, and
Okay.
I couldn't get him off me except for taking my gun and shooting him or
Okay, well,
something
let's
like
say-
that, that's case by case.
Let's say that is the case, that's what happened, but the evidence proves otherwise. That the evidence that the people gather say that you intentionally
Well,
killed
then
them.
I'm shit out of luck.